the sequence of positive numbers, x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 3, etc., what is the value of x sub 1? So what is the value of the first term in our sequence? Statement 1 says x sub I is equal to x sub I minus 1 all over 2 for all integers I greater than 1, which they have to say just because the first term in your sequence is not going to have a term prior to it. So this is saying for any term in our sequence other than the first term, that term is equal to the term before it divided by 2. So we can say our sequence looks like if our first term is x, our second term will be x over 2, then our term after that will be x over 4, then x over 8, then x over 16. So we're dividing by 2 each time or multiplying by 1/2. However, so we're looking for x here, but without knowing anything else. So now that we know a formula, if we can get any of our terms, we can find the first term, but we really can't get any of our terms because everything is in terms of x. So this is still insufficient, but we are a little bit closer. Statement 2 says the fifth term in our sequence is equal to the fourth term in our sequence all over the fourth term in our sequence plus 1. So by itself, this shouldn't be sufficient because we're still not we don't know what the fifth term or the fourth term is, so we can't solve for anything here. But now, so we're taking them together, so we have two different formulas now for finding the terms in our sequence. And so here we can say, we can think of this as really we have two equations for solving for the fifth term, because I can use this, my first statement, which is more sort of a generic equation for any term, but I can still use it to find the fifth term. So according to the first statement, so now we're looking at them together, x sub 5 should be equal to x sub 4 over 2. And then according to my second statement, x sub 5 should be equal to x sub 4 all over x sub 4 plus 1. And so I can set these two guys equal to each other and solve for the fourth term in my sequence. And if I can solve for the fourth term in my sequence, I should be able to solve for the first term in my sequence, because I just got to multiply it by 2 to get to here, then multiply that by 2, and then multiply that by 2 again. So this looks like C is going to be our answer. Let's actually solve this, though. So we know x, the fourth term over 2 is equal to the fourth term over the fourth term plus 1. So we can cross multiply here. And we get the fourth term squared plus the fourth term is equal to 2 times our fourth term. And then based on this, we get x sub 4 squared minus x sub 4 is equal to 0. So we can factor out an x sub 4. So x sub 4 times x sub 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. So x sub 4 is either equal to 0 or x sub 4 is equal to 1. However, I believe from our prompt it says sequence of positive numbers. So this is actually not possible. So if our fourth term, so these are, if our fourth term is equal to 1, our third term should be equal to 2, and our second term should be equal to 4, and our first term should be equal to 8. So together, they are sufficient.